Today we will be ranking all icons in EA FC 24. That's right, all 105 of them. Now with icons, there is only one version this year. For example, Pele doesn't have three versions like he's had the last, 5, 6 FIFAs. He does not have a base, he does not have a mid, he does not have a prime. He's just got an average rating, if you will. I've just decided to give him one icon card, being a 95. They said that they'll be doing this because they'll be putting more icons into promos, which kind of replaces the need for base or prime icons. I guess obviously mid as well. They've all just got a mean rating, if you will, right? Mean meaning average. You got R9 who's a 94, Dino is a 93. I honestly personally like it. Let me know what you guys think down below. So today, lads, we will be ranking all of these in a tier list, along with the new woman icons. I believe there might be 4 or 5 new woman icons as well. This is the tier list we have built up. We've got the faces of all of them. I have got my foot bin open as well. If I am stuck, I'll go over the foot bin, have a look at the icons. And the major thing that I want to be looking at today to kind of help my mind go, is this a good icon? And you guys should be looking at it as well, is play styles, especially playstyle pluses. It's a new kind of trait system EA have added, but for example, you want to see your attackers having finesse shot playstyles, so on and so forth. It will make them feel so much better in game. We've got a tier ranging from elite all the way down to avoid, with usable, good and very good in between. These ratings are subjective. Obviously, in 2-3 months time, we'll find out the true meta, but going towards the start of a game, I kind of just want to rank them from how they look, the playstyles, and how meta I think they will be. First up, we have got Van Nistelrooy. His pace isn't anything crazy, his dribbling isn't anything crazy, he's 3-star. He's been so hard done by EA. The one thing that is good about him is all of his playstyles, and I think this will be the case for lots of icons this year. I would be putting them in a void tier, but once they've got good playstyles, they've got some usability about him. I wouldn't recommend Van Nistelrooy by any means, but I'll put him into the usable. I did add the usable tier instead of the average because I feel like usable is a better way to describe this tier, right? Next up, we have got Zanetti. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put Zanetti into unpopular opinion. Maybe very good's a bit high. I'll put him at the high end of good, maybe towards the low end of very good. You can debate that, but I think Zanetti is a pretty solid icon. He's never too expensive, like 500k plus. He can play right back, left back. I'm pretty sure he's got an alt position in the midfield as well. His pace isn't crazy, so if you're using him as a fullback, definitely get a shadow on him. But my unpopular opinion is Zanetti is usually pretty good. Xavi as well, I think if you use him correctly, you can get a good icon and use him quite well. Nesta, for me, is going to be going into a void. Once again, I feel like lots of the slower centre backs that went into the avoid tier last year will actually be going into the usable tier simply because of playstyles, and Nesta is one of those centre backs. Some great defensive playstyles about him. Personally, I really like the addition of playstyles this year because it does exactly that. It makes icons, or just players in general who usually aren't that good, who don't have good stats, suddenly makes them at least usable with their playstyles. Baggio for me is going to be going into the low tier of good. You could debate usable. I think it's just the stamina that really kills him. If he had good stamina, you could debate very good, but we'll keep him in the good tier. The stamina can be a pain. Desailly is going to be our first very good player. He's very not agile, but that's fine for a centre back. He's a tank, he's tall, perfect work rates, great play styles, exactly what you want. Cannavaro, I'm going to put in to the good tier. Pace isn't quite as good as his base icon was last FIFA. I think they've given him 70, in the late 70s. It might be 78 or 79 pace on his card this year. Never mind, I've given him 80, which isn't bad at all. He's still a little bit short for a centre back, but if you pair him up with a taller guy, he'll definitely get the job done. Zola for me is also going into the very good. Left stick dribbling is very important this year. I was about to say this FIFA, but during this EA FC game cycle, you will notice, especially at the start, left stick dribbling is so important. Zola screams out left stick dribbling. Philipp Lahm will be putting into the very good as well. I think he's similar to Zanetti, just better. Like, he can play right back, full back, but he's very good in the midfield as well. Schweinsteiger, I'll go ahead, I'll put into his pace isn't crazy. His pace definitely isn't crazy. Solid play styles about him. It's between usable or good. I feel like he's better than the 2 icons in the usable tier, but he's not as good as the ones in the good tier. So I'll keep him at the high end of usable, with Seedorf going straight into good. Shevchenko as well, I will be putting in to, you know what? I might actually put him in the low tier of good. I think this year, I keep saying it, but with play styles, I think you could get some solid use out of him. Steven Gerrard, yeah, of course. I'll put him into the high tier of good. I think he's usually a pretty underrated card. He actually looks okay with a correct chemistry style. Kaka definitely goes into very good. Need I say more? Zinedine Zidane, we'll be putting him into a void. I'm just joking, man. We're putting him into elite. It's Zinedine Zidane, probably the most obvious choice on the list so far. Play him in the number 8. Play him as a number 10. I wouldn't recommend playing him on the wing, but he can play in a lot of different positions and different roles. I think Vidic has been done very dirty this year. With how good he was in real life, he should be in the very good tier, but we'll put him in the mid tier of good. Hernandez, I feel like will go to the lower end of good. He doesn't look crazy. I think he's the lowest rated icon. He's got 3-star weak foot as well, but some okay dribbling, great pace, and amazing play styles. Next up is a newly added icon in Franck Ribéry, and I feel like it would be a crime to put him in anything other than elite. He'll definitely be towards the lower end of elite. I don't think he's as elite as the likes of R9, Pele, Ruud, Hullet, Zidane, but he's definitely still worthy of being in the elite tier. Great play styles, 5-star for me is just amazing. I think Perez will be going into the usable. I feel like he kind of fits with these icons down here. You could debate good, but he's always been an awkward player to use because his dribbling has been okay, but then he's 6'2", so it kind of makes for dribbling, especially left stick dribbling this year. It definitely makes it a really awkward type of thing. Tall, but kind of good dribbling, so the dribbling doesn't feel as good as it should, is what I'm trying to say. Hero, I'll put into the low end of good. Once again, with good play styles, you'll have some usability about him. Petit as well, I'll be putting into the good tier. I think Petit is always a nice, probably a little bit of an under the radar icon. Thierry Henry, the greatest player to play Premier League football, or the greatest Premier League player of all time, I should say. But we'll put him at the high end of very good. I don't think he's quite elite where he should be, but I'm still going to put him, you know, relatively high and very good. It's just he never gets the flowers from EA that he deserves. Hadji is going into the good tier, with Sanchez also going into the good tier. And I'm telling you now, boys, if this Sanchez had a better weak foot, if he had better composure, this card would be so good. He's definitely one of the underrated icons as well, I believe, but he's just missing a few important stats, like the composure, like the weak foot, I think it is. It might be skills. He's 3-star in something, and he's just missing that bang factor to put him up another tier. Yeah, 3-star skills, 82 composure as a striker, I feel like isn't crazy. Now, I've got this new icon here, so we're going to flick on over to Footbin and have a look at him. All right, he looks very nice. 5-star, 89 pace, 92 shoot. Wow, this card looks good. Respectable composure. Good, I mean, solid stamina. He looks really nice, man. Damn, I think probably a hawk if you're using him as a cam. He's got the dead ball playstyle plus some other playstyles here, another 5 playstyles. For me, boys, he looks like an elite icon. Cam, center forward, center mid, kind of ticks all the boxes. How tall is he? Doesn't have his height, so I'm not sure how tall he would be. He is 1.72 meters, which I believe might be 5'9", maybe 5'8". I think he looks elite. He ticks all the boxes. He looks amazing. I think we can't have Ribéry in elite and not have Zico, so we will put him into the elite tier. Makelele is going straight into the good. He's kind of like the icon version of Kante. In fact, you know what? No, I'm going to put him up to very good. I think Makelele, as a stay-back CDM, is always nice. His shooting is poor, but as a stay-back CDM, I think he's really good. But Racy, I feel like lots of the slower centre-backs will be in the usable tier. Once again, would be a void without the playstyles. Carlos Alberto going into the very good. You can play him as a right-back. You can play him as a centre-back. He's got some versatility in the defence about him. Cantona, I feel like joining Thierry Henry in the very good tier. Not quite, in my opinion, enough to make it to the elite, but I'd say he'd be at the very top of that very good tier. Koeman going into the, I feel like I'd put him at the low tier of good rather than usable. I think he's a bit better than the players that are down here. Bobby Moore as well, going into usable, got some play styles. He's just a little bit slow, and I feel like with centre backs, you do want pace. Every year pace is important, some years more than others, but still, I feel like coming up against an Mbappe, coming up against Saint Maximin, these Saudi League starting teams are going to be nice. I say starting teams, but these Saudi League teams towards the start of a game, I should say, there's lots of pacey players. You'll be having players with 90 plus pace, especially with women in the game now. There'll be lots of fast, agile women. But I feel like some of the slower centre-backs may struggle in that sense. Johan Cruyff, going straight to the top, of course. Socrates, I'll go ahead and put into very good. He's definitely a heavier, clunkier icon, but if you use him correctly, maybe even as a striker, I think he will be a very good card. Good play styles. I quite like him in that very good tier. Jude Muller as well, I'll put at the lower end. That's Baresi. What have I done now? I do not know what I just done. Okay, Jude Muller's gotten there. Jude Muller, towards the end of a very good tier. Baresi back down to usable. I was like, that does not look like Jude Muller. Butragueno, he's a little bit little, I believe 5'6" or 5'7", something like that. But other than that, his stats look good. He's got a 5-star weak foot, only 3-star skills. But in my opinion, he'll also be joining Henry and Cantona in the top end of a very good tier. Van Basten, I think, is definitely better than Van Nistelrooy. He's the better Dutch striker. Not saying in real life. You could debate in real life. I swear it was Van Basten that retired at like 28, right? With 3 Ballon d'Ors. But nonetheless, we'll be going ahead. We'll be putting him at the high end of good. I think he's got really nice agility, which is quite nice and unexpected for a player of his body build. Next up is Rijkaard. We're putting him at the lower end of good. In fact, we'll put him in the middle of good. I think he can play centre back, CDM, offers some versatility in the defense. He's like a budget Hullet, which coincidentally enough, our next player is Ruud Hullet. We'll go ahead and put him in elite. Once again, need I say more? It's Ruud Hullet. Gary Lineker for me just doesn't look too good this year. He's only got one playstyle, and that is a chip shot playstyle plus, which is still good, but he's only one playstyle. He looks mediocre. We'll go ahead and put him in the usable tier. Sukia, I feel like we'll go at the lower end of good. He's got a few traits. He's 4-star, 4-star. Nothing crazy, but I'll definitely say he should be considered a good icon. Laudrup as well, I will put low end of good or high end of usable. I'll keep him in the low end of good. I think he looks okay. Once again, you'll get usability out of him and even more. I feel like I'd rather Laudrup than icons in this tier. Maybe not. I feel like it's hard. It's kind of, I don't know. I feel like Schweinsteiger and Perez. It's an awkward position because I feel like I'd rather the icons in a good tier over Schweinsteiger, over Perez. But then they're also significantly better than the other players in the usable tier. So I feel like I'm actually going to bump Schweini and Perez up to the low end of good. Let me know what you guys think about that. I mean, yeah, Laudrup, he looks solid. I just had a look now. He's got 4 or 5 play styles about him. I'm happy with these guys in a good tier. I feel like Perez does have a finisher playstyle plus trait. Schweini, disregarding his pace, you really need a shadow on him, but definitely obviously in the lower end of the good tier, but I still think they're better than everyone in the usable tier. George Best will be putting at the top of very good. In my opinion, not quite an elite icon, but still a very, very good icon, alright? Now we are getting to the point you may just be able to see the top of their heads towards the bottom of your screen, but next up is a new icon. I believe her name is Sawa, I could be wrong. She is 5'5" tall, so definitely on the shorter side. Some very nice playstyles there, relentless as the playstyle plus. The agility and balance not as good as I'd quite like for a 5'5" player. I'm expecting 90 plus balance, 90 plus agility. Obviously 69 strength on the other hand is respectable for a 5'5" player. Pace isn't anything crazy. I feel like you probably, if you're using her, I mean centre mid or a cam, if you're using her as a cam, you definitely want to get a hunter chemistry style on her. Therefore, we will be putting her at the top of a very good tier, along with George Best. Next up is, I forgot her name. I need to learn these woman icon names, so please bear with me. I'm going to put Smith in the very good tier, and I'm going to put Aberley. I think I'll put her in the... Now, I'll put her in the good tier, the very good tier as well, but I'll just put her a little bit lower than Smith. She looks good, don't get me wrong, but it's just that height. If she was a little bit taller for the midfield, I'll definitely be upping her into the very good, alright? But she still looks good. Next up is Bobby Charlton, also a new icon. Now, I've already had a look at his stats, and this card does look really nice, really respectable, good play styles. I'm going to go ahead, I'll put him into the very good tier as well. Riquelme honestly isn't an amazing icon. He's only got 71 stamina. He's not the fastest. He's got some great dribbling about him. I believe he's 4-star, 5-star with good play styles. We'll put him at the high end of usable. The 71 stamina really does make it difficult along with a slower pace. But I mean, then again, you could say I did rank Okocha in the Premier League midfielders and attackers as an elite icon. So Riquelme's got only like a couple less stamina. But then again, Okocha's got like 15 more pace, right? We'll put Riquelme in the usable tier. Once again, I feel like we probably won't have any avoid icons this year, simply because of play styles. And that is a rare W from EA. Pele, need I say more? I keep saying need I say more, but for the obvious icons, I mean, do I really need to say more? Pele going straight into elite. Now, we did this last time with goalkeepers. Goalkeepers are different and inconsistent for everyone. So just to avoid drama, we'll put all of the goalkeepers in the good tier except for Van der Sar, because Van der Sar is always just that guy because he's so tall. So we'll put Yashin in the high end of good, all right? And we'll do that for all keepers, except for me. I think Van der Sar is always the better icon, and Van der Sar will be going into the very good tier. Del Piero, I'll be putting into the very good tier as well. I'm a massive fan of Del Piero on this game. Puyol going into usable. Bergkamp going into good. Kluivert going into the mid to low end of usable. Patrick Vieira, oh Paddy, he's gone elite, mate. I love Patrick Vieira. I think almost every FIFA player loves Patrick Vieira. Schmeichel up next will be going at the top of good along with Yashin. Roberto Carlos for me is going into the very good tier. Also, I am aware my face cam is covering some of the players. We'll get a screenshot and go through it at the end of the video whilst I talk over it for you guys. A screenshot without my face cam, but there's really nothing we could have done, right? Because I need to put my face cam somewhere. Lothar Matthäus, I feel like it's tempting to put him into the elite tier. I don't know, man. I'm going to put him into the high end of very good. The very high end of very good. Debatably elite. I have no problem if you guys put him in elite. Maldini for me, going straight in to the elite tier where he belongs. Blanc is going into the good tier. I think Larson goes into the low end of good. Keane as well actually isn't bad. Low end of good. Is that closer? Low end of good as well. I was going to put him in usable, but his playstyles are phenomenal. Closer for me, definitely nothing crazy. Into the lower end of good. Eusebio is definitely going into the elite. Let me scroll up so you guys can see that. Definitely going into the higher, or sorry, the lower to mid end of elite. Just behind Hullet. In fact, we'll put him just behind Zico and Cruyff. I think that's fair. Bang on. Can I get it, please? Can I get it? There we go. Bang on right there. I think that's perfect. Veron is going into usable. Sol Campbell is going into good. Feel like I want to bump closer down to usable as well. That's a little tweak. I feel like his agility and balance isn't great. As I said, though, his play styles are very nice, but he's only got 3-star something. I can't remember if it's skills or weak foot, but 3-star something along with average dribbling. We'll put him into the usable tier. Gattuso as well, into the lower end of a usable tier. I think he's nothing crazy. Scholes into the usable tier. Ashley Barnes, I'll put into the lower end of good, with Garrincha going into the pretty high end of very good. I think Garrincha is kind of similar to Matthäus. I feel like just not quite in that elite tier, but very close. Dalglish as well goes into the very good tier, with Ian Rush into usable. Another Ian Wright, into usable. I guess it makes sense that we've got lots of the usable icons, especially the ones that are never really meta. With playstyles, as I said, every icon in the game has got at least one playstyle, I believe, and therefore it makes them at the absolute minimum usable, but definitely by no means good, if you will. And I think that's pretty fair to have these guys in the usable tier. I'm pretty happy with the players in the good tier as well. Don't pay too much attention to the order. Keane and Barnes, you could debate lower a tier. Beckham for me will go into the middle of the good tier. He's only 3-star. He looks solid. You can use him as a centre mid, a right mid if you want, in a more attacking role, a more advanced role. He's one of those players that I think is fitting in good. Zambrotta, for his position, I think he's a very good right. I did it again. Ian Wright's down there. Where does Zambrotta go? I did it again. But anyway, Zambrotta going into the very good tier. He can play right back. He can play left back. I like it a lot. Puskas going into the very good tier as well. Definitely getting tricky to do because I have to keep scrolling down. Van Persie goes into the good tier along with Van Basten and Sanchez. Jarzinho, I feel like after our experience with him last year, I feel like we've just got to put him into elite. Once again, you can't really see him under my webcam, but I can assure you he is indeed in the elite tier. Ham, next up, another woman icon, and I know she is going into elite. She is also looking absolutely nuts this year. Next up is Prinz, I believe it is, and honestly, she doesn't look great. She's got poor agility, poor balance. For me, she's going into the, I feel like usable's probably a bit harsh. We'll put her in the lower end of good. She's a little bit clunky. She's got 3-star weak foot, I believe, but other than that, her shooting stats and playstyles are fantastic, so we'll put her in the lower end of good. We'll put her above Keane and Barnes for sure. I feel like I might actually bump Keane and Barnes down to usable because they're kind of annoying me in that good tier. Ronaldinho for me, obviously, is going to be going into that elite tier. Drogba, I feel like will go into the middle of good, with Ashley Cole as well, joining him in the middle of good. He's not a bad left back at all. His stats definitely don't look crazy. In fact, we'll bump him down kind of towards the lower end of a good tier. Ballack, high end of good tier. I think Ballack definitely has got some options about him. I think you want to use him as for box to box, but you could use him as a DM. You could get away with it. Maybe not so much as an attacking minded centre mid, but honestly, Ballack's one of the players I actually don't mind on most FIFAs. R9, obviously, going to the very top of the elite tier. Don't pay too much attention to the rest of the order, but as long as R9 is at number 1. Rivaldo's weak foot is honestly a bit of a killer, but we still will put him in the good tier along with Xabi Alonso. Raul, I feel like, goes to the higher end of the good tier. I think Raul is actually one of those icons. He actually looks really good. His shooting is fantastic. Essien for me is going into the lower end of the very good tier. As a CDM, I like him a lot. Stoichkov will put towards the higher end of good. I feel like is fair. In fact, we'll put him at the very top of good. Maybe, you know what? No, we'll put him in very good. I think Stoichkov is a very good icon, and he's definitely a grade above all of the players in the good tier, I feel like. Check, obviously a goalkeeper, so he will be going into that good tier with Fernando Torres. High end good or low end very good with Stoichkov? Ooh, it's a tricky one. I'll put him at the high end of good. I think I'd rather Stoichkov over Fernando Torres if someone offered me. In fact, he does have that finesse shot playstyle plus though. Putting him with Stoichkov in very good. Cafu, if we're talking in terms of position, like I'd say he's an elite right back. But in terms of icons, we'll put him at the high end of very good. I feel like we can't put him on the same tier as R9 Vieira. But in terms of right backs, he's definitely the best and most elite right back in EAFC. Alan Shearer. I think we might actually have our first avoid. Even with the play styles, I think we might have our first avoid icon. 3-star, 70 agility. His only play style plus is a power header, so it's not a finesse shot. I think we've got our first avoid icon, and I got no problem with it being Alan Shearer. I just think his playstyles aren't crazy. If he had like the power shot and the finesse shot, like playstyle pluses, sure, bump him up to usable. For me, he's going into a void. Van der Sar, on the other hand, as I said, I feel like he's the only keeper that will actually make it into the very good tier above the rest. He's always just that guy. We got the final stretch here, ladies and gentlemen. Rooney going into very good with Michael Owen going into usable. Definitely not a crazy card, but we will put him in usable. Lampard, usable, or have we got another avoid icon here? We'll put him in the low end of usable, but let's have a VAR check. 3-star skills, his pace isn't crazy, but it's respectable. His dribbling isn't good, especially the 70 agility. He's got okay strength. Once again, nothing crazy. But then, yeah, look at those playstyles. Just like that, the playstyles turned him from an avoid icon to a usable one, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. The CS will go into, we'll actually put him at the lower end of good compared to the other keepers. I still think he'll be a good keeper, but it's just that height is a little bit of an issue. 6'1", I believe, could debate is a little bit too small for a keeper. Figo goes into very good. I like Figo a lot on FIFAs or EAFC now. Next up is Trezeguet, and I was thinking of putting him at the low end of good. He's 4-star. His dribbling and pace isn't anything crazy. That's nothing an engine can't fix. His shooting is phenomenal, but his playstyles aren't really amazing. Therefore, would bump him down to usable, but definitely towards the higher end of that usable tier. Nedved coming up next. We'll go ahead and we will put him into the good tier. Rio Ferdinand for me going into the middle of a very good tier. I think that's fair. Once again, don't pay too much attention to the order. Like Thierry Henry should obviously be a bit higher. But still, Rio Ferdinand, great play styles, solid centre back. He's always been a good centre back. But with the play styles, I'm putting him into the very good. With Crespo, I'll put into good. I quite like the look of Crespo. In most FIFAs, I actually like Crespo quite a bit. Pirlo, I'll put into like kind of a lower end of good as well. I remember last year we put him in not meta but fun, but I think the 5-star skills, the playstyles with Pirlo is absolutely nuts. Yeah, he's got the dead ball playstyle plus, I believe a long ball and a couple other normal playstyles as well. And last, but most definitely not least, ladies and gentlemen, the 105th icon is Eto'o, and we'll be putting him into the very good tier. As you guys can see on the screen, my webcam is no longer there. Here is the screenshot for all of it, and I think I am very happy with this. Once again, do not pay attention too much to the order. We tried to put some of the like better, very good icons ahead of like the worse ones. For example, Cafu, Figo towards the top, Garrincha towards the top of a very good tier with, you know, Fernando Torres towards the bottom. But don't pay too much attention, like Thierry Henry should be higher, so forth. We didn't do the order perfectly, but still, elite icons I'm happy with, the very good icons I'm happy with. I think the difference between very good and good, once again, I'm happy with, and down to usable, and only avoid being Shearer. I think this is a very good icon tier list. Like, I'm very happy with this. Make sure to let me know down below as well, what would you change? Do you agree? Who do you disagree with? And what icon are you most excited to use this year? But that'll be me for today, lads. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. We will be doing a Heroes one in the coming days, so make sure to look out for that. And of course, enjoy EA FC. It's been your boy Davis, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.